Hello everyone. Welcome back to another animation tutorial using the Wick editor. So yesterday Wick editor came out with a new update. I don't think it's official yet, but some of the changes are in there. So there are some nice little things, but we're not going to really get into those in this particular tutorial. This tutorial is going to focus on using the asset library over here in the bottom right-hand corner. So one really cool thing that you can do in animation is a technique called rotoscoping, where you actually draw on top of video, and you can use it as a reference and then hide the video, or you can add your animation to the video and enhance the video. So what I discovered was I really wanted Wick Editor to be able to do rotoscoping, and unfortunately it does not look like it can do that yet. They might add that feature in the future, which would be cool. But the asset library allows you to load in assets. And right now it looks like it'll allow you to load in sounds and images, but it won't let you do video. And that's why we can't do true rotoscoping. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to do kind of rotoscoping. So what we're going to do is, certainly if you go on to YouTube and you type in animation reference, you'll see a whole bunch of really cool, helpful stuff. Of course, what you could do is you could go out and you could film yourself, and then you'd have your own reference. Plus, acting it out is a really great idea for all animators so that you can just experience the movement and really master it, the understanding of it. There's other really great videos online, like this fantastic video here, 50 Ways to Sit. So again, you could do this yourself, but it already exists here. If you did it yourself, obviously you could do it from different camera angles and do that. But this guy's come up with 50 interesting creative ways. So there's some really good reference here. A fantastic YouTube channel that I discovered a while ago is called Endless Reference. And they have really, I mean, it's perfect. I'm going to go ahead and load this one up here. Some of the videos have grids and some don't. I think the grids are really great. So you can see here we've got a side view and a front view at the same time, which is awesome. You got the grid so you can really see what the heck is going on. And down here in the middle you've got the frame count, which is super, super cool. All right, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use this one as a demo for today. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to copy the address, and then I'm going to go to my next favorite resource for animating online, and that is Watch Frame by Frame. So I'm going to go ahead and paste in and click on Watch Video. Okay, and the video goes ahead and it plays. What I've discovered is that what you first want to do is you want to come down here, and where it shows the time, you want to click on that, and now it changes to frames. And it's kind of interesting. It says right now we're on frame 70 of 315, and you can see right here we're only off by a frame. So that's pretty darn close. I would say that's a success. So now what you can do is, since you've turned on the frame view, you can now use your left and right arrow key, and you can really see what the heck is going on. And again, the frame count is only off by one frame, so that's pretty darn good. I did find that if you, with this website, Watch Frame by Frame, if you click and press play, and then you pause it, and then you go back to the left and right arrow keys, you'll see that it now jumps a huge chunk of time. So it kind of resets itself. So the way that you fix that is you just have to come back down here to where it shows the frames and then click a second time and get back to it, and then it kind of resets back to one frame at a time. So a minor little annoyance, but it's free. It's a really great tool, so you just deal with it. You can leave all the other settings the same, and there we go. So here's how we're going to use this. There is a technique in animation that is called pose to pose. And if you've studied animation before, you'll know what I'm talking about. So the two main techniques in animation are pose to pose and frame by frame. And most professional animators will use both. So pose to pose, real quickly, if you don't know, is where on one frame you go ahead and you figure out the major pose. So I'm going to go ahead and draw my ball up here. And then you figure out, okay, the next major pose is going to be somewhere down here, right? And it's adding in its squash. And then the next major pose is going to maybe be up here. And then the next major pose or keyframe is going to be down here. And so you would animate like this. You would basically figure out and you would plan what all of your major poses are, and then that would help you break your poses down into the in-betweens, and then you'd be able to say, okay, right about here, I want to add a frame, and I want to be somewhere, like this, somewhere in the middle. Okay, so that's pose to pose. It's very planning, it's very methodical, and it works really well. So what we're going to do is we're going to use this website here, frame by frame, and we're going to take some screenshots, and we're going to use the asset library to kind of help us out in animating this. And it's sort of like rotoscoping. So we're going to see how this works out. So I'm going to go ahead and use the left and right arrow key and get this in here. And we're just going to see how this works. So I'm going to go ahead and try to get her right where she's here. Okay, so we're going to take that, and I'm going to go ahead and screenshot this. And I'm on a Mac, so I'm going to press Shift, Command, and 4, and I can just click and drag my mouse and grab a screenshot. So there we are. Now I'm going to go ahead and press the right arrow key and just go ahead, and this is the part that's going to be where I have to figure out, okay, what's the next sort of keyframe? Now she's shifting her body weight, but right about, let's say there, where she's really bringing this other leg forward. So now I'm going to screenshot again, Shift Command 4. And I'm going to maybe do 4 screenshots or 4 poses. So now I'm going to go ahead and get right about here where her knee is really coming forward again. So this is screenshot number 3. And let's make the 4th one be where her, actually we'll do 5. So we'll do one more here where her knee really gets at the top. And then one final one where her foot is furthest out like that. We'll say that's completion. Okay, good. So we're all there now. So now I'm going to go ahead and arrange my screenshots. Okay, so here are my screenshots. I'm just going to go ahead and open them up. Okay, so this is pose 1. And again, you don't have to rename them like this. You could just go ahead and call them 1, 2, 3, 4. But I'm going to go ahead and just rename them here like this just to model it. Okay, so there are my poses there. So to add something into the asset library, you can just drag and drop. That's one way of doing it. Okay, that is not one way of doing it. You have to do it apparently inside the asset library. I thought that worked before. So I'm going to click over here. There's 2 buttons. If you choose Add Built-in Asset, there's a couple little clips in here, and then there's some sounds. That's not what we want. We want the second button here to upload assets. So I'm going to go to my folder, and I'm going to go ahead, and you can upload them one at a time, but you can also click on the very first photo, and then you can hold down the Shift key, and you can click on the last one, and then click on Open, and that should load in all of them. Now, I haven't tested this out. I don't know what the limit is. I don't know if you can load in 900 of these. I think that might overwhelm your computer, so we'll see. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I can go ahead and I can now drag in. I'm going to set up my layer here. I'm going to change my layer name from layer. I'm just going to go ahead and call it ref for reference. And on frame 1, I'm going to drag in pose 1. And I'm going to zoom out by scrolling my mouse wheel, click on my pose, and I'm going to go ahead and resize the photo. Now to resize it, I'm going to hold down the Shift key and click and drag one of the corners. And what that's going to do is that's going to make sure that the photo doesn't get distorted. If I don't hold down Shift, you'll see that I can distort the photo and it's going to be all weird. Okay, I'm going to undo that. So I'm going to hold down Shift, drag in, and get it about right. Okay, I'll zoom in or just recenter. Okay, so go ahead there. And I don't think there's a way, well, let's see. Let's see if you can actually zoom from the center here. Okay, so right about there. And I could move the subject down so it looks like they're actually on the ground, but I'm just going to go ahead and get it kind of right in the middle here. Okay, now what's cool is that you can see that this is actually on frame 53, so that's really super helpful, so I can see that there. Okay, so now watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to now come in here and I'm just going to choose frame 4, and I'm going to grab pose 2 and drag pose 2 in, and I'm going to put it in there. And again, I'm going to do the same thing, Shift, click to resize. And so this is the part where I might need to do this some more to really get it down. I'm going to turn on onion skinning, and I'm going to change the size of the onion skinning that I can see by expanding that red bar. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and I'm just choosing a few more frames down. So I'm just choosing a third keyframe, and I'm going to bring in pose 3 and do the same thing. I'm going to do the same thing for the other frames. So I'm going to pause the video now and just finish that up. So just one real quick tip here, I'm not done yet, but by having onion skinning turned on, I can see the previous frame, and so I can see where the photo is. So the onion skinning really does help me kind of figure out where everything is. And I'm hoping that her body will kind of line up and it'll work out. Again, if you're off by a little tiny bit, I hope it doesn't matter. Okay, so I've got it in there. So again, what I did was I just randomly placed some keyframes down here to match how many poses I had over here in the asset library. So don't pay attention to how many frames they last. But if I click through here, you can kind of see it going through. It looks pretty good. You can see the photos are changing position a little bit, so I could go back and I could tweak those a little bit, but I'm going to go ahead and kind of go forward here. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here to my timeline, click the plus button to add a new layer, and I'm going to drag that layer up and on top of the reference layer. I'm going to go ahead and rename my layer 2, and I'm just going to call this rough anim for my rough animation layer. And I'm going to come back down here to my reference layer, and I'm going to lower the opacity. So the way that you do that is you select your reference layer, you select your frame down here, and then you have to come up here, click on the cursor tool, or press C. You have to click on the photograph reference here, and then over here where the inspector shows up, you can see the opacity clip, or the opacity setting. So you can click on the little slider here. I'm just going to type in 0.5 or 0.5 just to give me 50% there. And I'm going to turn off onion skinning just so we don't see too much. Okay, so hopefully that did that. So now I'm going to come to the next keyframe, select the photo, change it to 0.5, and repeat. You probably don't have to type in 0.5. Let's see if you can just type in 0.5. Yep, looks good. And the last one here. It'd be kind of cool if I didn't have to select every single frame to change the opacity. If there's some way of getting around that, please let me know in one of the comments below, Because if I was doing this technique and I had 150 frames, gosh, I wouldn't want to have to do this to every single one, even though it's fairly easy. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and start doing the fun part here. I'm now on my rough animation layer, and I'm going to go ahead and click on frame 1 and add a frame. And I'm going to grab my brush tool, and I'm going to make my brush size a little smaller here by using the, you can use the open bracket or left bracket and the right bracket key to change your brush size, or you can come up here. Now I am using a drawing tablet, so I'm going to turn on enable pressure because it makes me feel a little bit more natural. And I'm going to zoom in and I'm going to focus on the side view here, something like that. And because it's my rough animation layer, I'm not going to draw in black. I'm going to go ahead and draw in blue. So I'm going to click down here at the bottom and choose this blue preset here. And then I'll go ahead and close it. So now I can go ahead and I can start off. I usually, in my rough animation, I like to start off with gestural line. My students and I were, this past week at school, we've been doing gestural line. So I might go ahead and take a little bit of that, put her waist, shoulders, just get everything in here. So it's not really gestural because I am just kind of going over it. And going through like that. So I'm just really kind of sort of place holding, just getting everything in there. And I might go ahead and do a little bit more, but that's pretty good for now. So then I'll go to the beginning of the next frame. I can always reposition these and go through and I'll do the exact same step. So now again, kind of going with my gestural, get that line of action. And I'm not going to make you watch all of this, so I'll just go ahead through and then I'll show you the end result. Okay, so I'm pretty much done with doing the sort of gestural, it's more of a stick figure really, with a little bit of gesture elements thrown in there. I would like to go through and do more of a gestural process so that it feels a little bit more artistic. Right now it feels very stick figure-like. So I'm going to turn off my reference layer, hide it, and I can just go ahead and press play. And you can kind of see I'm pretty happy with it. Even though there's stuff missing in between, it's a halfway decent process. So here you go. This is a really workable process and method for free online, distance learning. So that's kind of cool. Now I go in and start making it look smoother and prettier. All right, everyone. I hope this helps you out. Thanks again for visiting, and I will see you next time.